opponents and stuff, and now to see me kind of in a tournament full of girls, and look at Kayla now fighting for the UFC title, you know, things like that.
It began with a statement that rolled through the fight world like thunder. Dana White, the man who built the UFC into an empire, had spoken. But this time, it wasn't just about a new fight card, a record-breaking gate, or another title bout. It was something heavier, more personal, something that struck right at the heart of the sport's history. His comments challenged the legacy of a woman many believed untouchable, Ronda Rousey. For years, Rousey was the name every fan, fighter, and promoter recognized instantly. She was the face that launched a movement, the pioneer who turned women's MMA from novelty to necessity. Her glare before a fight, her ruthless confidence, and her iconic armbar defined an era. But now, that legend was being measured against someone new. Someone who, in Dana's eyes, and in the eyes of many, might represent the next stage of evolution: Dakota Ditcheva. Young, undefeated, and unshakably calm under pressure, Dakota had become the center of one of the most intense debates in modern MMA. It started quietly, almost by accident, on a podcast that was meant to be just another breakdown of fight results and upcoming matchups. Dan Hardy, a former UFC contender and respected analyst, was asked about Dakota Ditcheva's rapid rise through the PFL ranks. What followed wasn't a simple analysis, it was a declaration. Hardy said plainly, "I could make the argument right now that she could beat anyone in her division on the planet." His tone left no room for doubt. It wasn't hype or exaggeration. It was conviction. The comment exploded across social media within hours. Fans argued. Fighters chimed in. Old clips of Ronda Rousey's greatest moments resurfaced, side by side with Dakota's recent highlights. The question everyone asked was the same. Could the British phenom truly be better than the woman who started it all? Hardy wasn't just comparing resumes. He was comparing eras. He acknowledged Ronda's brilliance, how she used Olympic-level judo to dominate opponents, how her grappling and finishing instincts redefined what female fighters were capable of. But he also pointed out what time had revealed. Rousey's game, as revolutionary as it was in 2013, belonged to a different era. One where specialization could still carry a fighter to world titles. Dakota, Hardy said, is what happens when the sport evolves past that point. She isn't a specialist, she's a hybrid, a complete, unpredictable fighter who blends Muay Thai, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu into a seamless whole. She can adapt mid-fight, switch between ranges, and dominate wherever the fight goes. That, Hardy said, is what makes her terrifying. The numbers didn't lie. Dakota's record stood at 15 wins with 0 defeats, a perfect streak that reflected not just talent, but precision and control. 12 of those victories came by knockout, 1 by submission, the rest by dominance from bell to bell. A 90% finish rate is something you expect from a heavyweight knockout artist, not a flyweight woman. Yet Dakota delivered that level of violence every time she stepped inside the cage. Her composure under pressure, her calculated aggression, and her ability to read opponents like an open book made her look less like a fighter and more like an artist perfecting her craft. Every elbow, every kick, every counter was deliberate. She didn't rush. She dismantled. Her defining moment came in 2024 when she entered the PFL World Championship against former UFC title contender Taila Santos. Many predicted a war, a clash that would test the young Brit's limits. Instead, it became a showcase. Dakota controlled the fight from the opening seconds, dictating distance, stuffing takedowns, and landing clean surgical strikes. Santos, who once pushed Valentina Shevchenko to the brink of defeat, couldn't find a way in. By the second round, it was over. Dakota stood over her fallen opponent with the composure of someone who had expected nothing less. That night, she didn't just win a world title and $1 million prize, she announced that the new generation had officially arrived. Her journey began long before the spotlight. Born in Manchester, England in 1998, Dakota grew up in a household where fighting wasn't just sport. It was part of life. Her mother, Lisa Howarth, was herself a respected Muay Thai fighter, and Dakota inherited both the discipline and the fire. By 17, she had already conquered the world of Muay Thai, capturing gold at the 2016 IFMA World Championships. She wasn't just winning fights, she was building foundations. Every strike was drilled, every defensive move perfected. When she transitioned to MMA, the adjustment looked effortless. What others struggled to learn, range control, defensive footwork, timing, came to her naturally. She had been trained for this long before she ever stepped into a cage. Dakota's confidence is what sets her apart from nearly everyone who came before her. She doesn't speak with arrogance or anger. Her tone is calm, steady, almost cold. When she says she can beat anyone, it doesn't sound like a boast. It sounds like fact. Observers often compare that composure to Ronda Rousey's fire, and that contrast says everything about how much the sport has changed. Ronda's dominance was fueled by intensity, emotion, and fury. She walked into the cage like a storm, ready to break whoever stood across from her. Dakota, in contrast, walks in like a surgeon, detached and methodical, knowing that the result has already been written in her mind. To understand the weight of Hardy's comparison, one must look back at how Ronda's story ended. Her career, once defined by speed and precision, came to a heartbreaking halt in a matter of months. The head kick knockout from Holly Holm at UFC 193 shattered the aura of invincibility she carried. Her attempt at redemption a year later ended even more brutally, with Amanda Nunes finishing her in under a minute. The same fire that made Ronda great became the very thing that consumed her. After those losses, she stepped away from the sport entirely, leaving behind a legacy of both greatness and vulnerability. She once said in an interview that she walked away thinking, "God hates me." Those words revealed what fans had never seen in the octagon, the emotional toll of being the one everyone expected to be perfect. When Dana White was asked about Dan Hardy's statement, the world waited for his reaction. The man who once called Ronda the greatest female fighter ever didn't hesitate. He praised Rousey for what she achieved, how she built women's MMA from nothing, how she became a global superstar. But he also acknowledged reality. The game evolves. The fighters now, he said, are different animals. They've seen it all. They've trained for every situation. It wasn't disrespect. It was evolution. Time had moved forward, and Dakota Ditcheva stood as living proof. Her rise through PFL had forced the UFC to pay attention. Even without fighting under their banner, she had become one of the most talked about names in the sport. The debate continues, not as a feud, but as a reflection of how far women's MMA has come. Ronda Rousey's reign built the foundation. She made people care, she made people watch. But Dakota Ditcheva represents what that foundation was meant to lead to. She's the embodiment of a sport that no longer relies on a single dominant skill, but thrives on complete mastery. Her presence is quiet, yet undeniable. Every time she steps into the cage, she carries the weight of evolution itself. Faster, sharper, more efficient. The comparisons to Ronda will never fully fade, but Dakota's focus isn't on surpassing anyone. It's on redefining what dominance looks like in this new era. And that's where the story lands today. Not as an ending, but as a transition. Ronda Rousey once stood as the mountain every woman tried to climb. Now, Dakota Ditcheva stands at the edge of a new horizon, not chasing anyone's shadow, not repeating anyone's legacy. Her rise isn't just another chapter in women's MMA. It's a reflection of what comes next. A generation that learned from the past, that studies every detail, that fights not just with power, but with intelligence and control. The sport moves forward, always faster than before, and right now, it's Dakota who stands at the front, eyes clear, hands steady, ready for whoever dares to test what evolution truly looks like.